Hello and good morning. Thank you to everyone for joining our event today. We really appreciate your participation. Despite the circumstances that continue to prevent us from meeting together, we all hope to resume meeting again together soon. My name is Daryl Knox. I'm a CPA and partner with the Aldrich Group of Companies. We have been serving Salem since 1973, and this is personally my 25th year working in the Salem community. I also have the pleasure of serving as the board chair for SEDCOR for the past 2 years. It's hard to believe that it's been 53 weeks since our last in-person SEDCOR forum lunch. Who would have imagined that a year ago? Natural disasters, the pandemic, and our response to the pandemic have resulted in so much loss in our community over the past 12 months. Loss of loved ones, loss of freedoms, loss of businesses, loss of homes, loss of employment, loss of education, loss of youth activities, loss of community events, loss of entire communities almost, and even a loss of our sense of community because of isolation. But on behalf of SEDCOR's board of directors, I'd really like to thank the SEDCOR staff, because in the midst of all of these challenges, SEDCOR staff has worked tirelessly with our community partners to preserve and build the economic vitality of our region. SEDCOR supports the Willamette Valley's most unique and vital industries so that families, communities, and cities all over our region can thrive. By listening and understanding to the problems and opportunities those industries face, we can help them transform their ideas for solutions into realities. We work with local governments and state agencies to attract businesses to our region and to keep businesses within our region who provide good jobs and stable tax revenues. Plus, recently, we've been working with numerous partners to foster the next generation of homegrown entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of exciting things that have been happening, even in the midst of such difficult times. Today, we're hosting the Marion County Commissioners to report on the state of Marion County. SEDCOR has developed a great partnership with Marion County and the commissioners, and we work together for the benefit of the region. It's been a pleasure for me to work alongside commissioners over the past few years and see them advocate for the people of Marion County. And we'll have a time for question and answer at the end of their presentations. So please use the Q&A feature to ask your questions. If it goes to the chat feature, it'll probably get lost. So use the Q&A function, and you can post questions throughout their presentation. I'll accumulate those and then moderate at the conclusion of their time. Please try to keep your questions brief and direct and simple enough so I can understand. We appreciate the generous support of our sponsor for today's event, Oregon State Credit Union. And I would like to introduce Shane Kelly, who's a business loan officer, as their representative to say a few words for us today.
Thank you, Daryl. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Oregon State Credit Union team, our board of directors, and our 126,000 members, we are honored to be here with you today and serving as this SEDCOR webinar sponsor. Please join me in thanking Marion County Commissioners Kevin Cameron, Danielle Bethel, and Colm Willis for the annual State of the County address. The commissioners will highlight issues facing county residents, such as the COVID-19 response and wildfire recovery, and also introduce new commissioner Danielle Bethel. At Oregon State Credit Union, social responsibility is one of our values. We are people helping people, and it's part of the credit union DNA. Our team has taken its commitment to being financial first responders during the pandemic very seriously. We continue to drive forward with our mission and vision to provide financially inclusive benefits to our members when they need us most. Throughout 2020, we looked for ways to make our members' lives better by offering payment deferrals, loan modifications, and skip payments. This meant our members retained more than 6 million of loan payments during the pandemic. Additionally, Oregon State Credit Union offered $461,537 in special loan products, providing financial assistance to members in need. We also waived fees for members totaling $633,072. In addition, we approved and funded over $20 million in Small Business Administration Paycheck Protection Program loans to credit union business members who have been financially impacted by the pandemic. Additionally, in 2020, Oregon State Credit Union, on behalf of our member owners, donated $55,000 to help residents of Oregon recover and rebuild after the devastating wildfires of 2020. Oregon State Credit Union has been around for 67 years, and we continue to grow. Our credit union began in 1954 on the campus of Oregon State University with just $25 in a shoebox. By the end of the first year, we had grown to 171 members. Today, more than 126,000 people enjoy the member-owner benefits of this not-for-profit credit union. We enthusiastically embrace the credit union creed of people helping people. You are more than just an account number at Oregon State Credit Union. Simply put, our members matter most. Our Benton County roots have stretched into Linn and Lincoln counties for the better part of 2 decades, and we take pride in being an integral part of the communities within the Cascade West service area. We have expanded our footprint and now have 24 counties in Oregon, featuring 15 branch locations, including Monmouth, Dallas, West Salem, Kaiser, Woodburn, and McMinnville. Credit unions exist to serve their members' financial needs. At Oregon State Credit Union, our vision is to create financial solutions that make lives better. Our members are our focus. That people first philosophy is at the heart of why credit unions and our team get involved in our local communities. Thank you everyone for your time, and please welcome the Marion County Board of Commissioners.
Well, good afternoon and happy St. Patrick's Day. I don't know about you, but this is always one of my favorite holidays every year. And wow, what a year. Last year, I remember saying that Marion County is one of the greatest places to live in the United States. And that was true then, and it remains true today. And the last year of adversity that we just faced has only solidified my belief in that truth. Marion County is great not because of its government, though we have many wonderful public servants, and not because of its businesses, though we have many honorable ones. But Marion County is great because the people as a whole in Marion County are great. In our businesses, in our governments, our faith communities and civic organizations, in law enforcement, education, in the woods, on our farms, and in our cities. This year, we stuck together when the whole world was trying to tear us apart. We came closer as a community. We sacrificed for each other. And we've come through stronger, braver, more considerate, and more compassionate than ever before. When COVID-19 hit our community last March, your county worked with dentists' offices and doctors' offices, with first responders and local governments to get masks, gloves, and face shields to our hospitals when the whole country had run out. Citizens lined up for miles to make homemade kits of masks so that our healthcare workers would have the equipment they needed to stay open and to keep us safe. Your county government, that serves as the local public health authority, delivered over 1 million units of personal protective equipment to our hospitals. From the beginning, our decision-making was driven by the data. And our Health and Human Services Department led the state in transparency when it came to COVID data in this crisis. We were the first public health authority in the state to release COVID data by zip code. Additionally, we worked with our schools, hospitals, and EMS crews and delivered more vaccines faster than just about any other county in the months of December and January. And a special thanks goes to Salem Hospital for setting up their mass vaccination clinic at the fairgrounds. We also need to thank Santiam Hospital for delivering vaccines to so many of our residents who live in rural areas. And I want to thank Woodburn Ambulance and Falk, who provided mobile clinics to people who couldn't travel, especially our seniors. So many people have benefited from this effort. And we've seen our COVID rate fall by more than 2/3. The latest numbers I saw showed that our 2-week positivity rate was only 3.4%, which is the lowest it's been since the beginning of the pandemic. Because of our community's vaccination efforts and because they were so effective, our kids in Marion County have been able to go back to in-person school months before many other counties' districts are planning to go back. The Salem-Keizer School District was the first large district in the state to bring kids back for in-person education, and some of our smaller districts started even earlier. During this past year, we stood up for our small businesses when the state was treating them unfairly. We pushed back when large national retailers were allowed to stay open under the COVID restrictions. But our local hair salons, restaurants, shops, and small local retailers were forced to close. Because of our advocacy, small businesses in Marion County were allowed to open 3 months earlier than their contemporaries in Portland. We also spent our entire economic development budget to keep those small local businesses afloat with emergency grants. This meant that by September, 3,000 of our residents in Marion County were employed who wouldn't have been if we had followed Portland's lead. Then this summer, riots erupted in Salem, and tear gas was used for the first time in our community. But instead of turning against each other, we turned toward each other. And we supported both our police officers and those individuals who were peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights to protest and denounce racial injustice in our society. In fact, right here in Salem, police officers actually led the march to the police station to protest those times across our nation when police officers have not lived up to their oaths to protect and serve. But our sheriff's office, our district attorney, and our local police officers also held individuals accountable when they committed crimes against our fellow citizens. Thus, in contrast to other communities that saw months of violence, here we had peace. Then, on Labor Day, a wildfire pour through our beloved Santiam Canyon. In the midst of this fire, our radio towers burned, and our ability to communicate with our citizens was impaired. In response, 30 sheriff's deputies drove into the smoke and the flames in the middle of the night and went door to door to get our residents out of that fire. And when over 1,000 of our citizens were evacuated at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, Jan Fritz, our chief administrative officer, called the executive director of the Oregon State Fairgrounds and opened an emergency shelter. And this shelter was operated and staffed by our policy analyst, Lisa Trauernicht, and our juvenile director, Troy Gregg, and our business services director, Colleen Coons-Chaffins, and our public works director, Brian Nicholas, and our community services director, Tamara Getch, and countless other county staff members and volunteers. County employees and volunteers who had never done anything like this before dropped everything to do what was necessary and stayed as long as necessary, often past midnight every night and sometimes overnight. We worked with our chambers and our Rotary clubs, our nonprofits, hospitals, and local small businesses, and together we provided shelter and housing to our community until FEMA, the state, and the Red Cross could get organized about 10 days later. And then we converted a hotel that we were using for COVID quarantine purposes to house our neighbors who had lost their homes in the fire. And many evacuees were the ones that were working the hardest to support their neighbors and friends during and after the fire. Many of the fires were fought by citizen brigades, like those in Sublimity, Mills City, and Scotts Mills. People who had lost everything volunteered to help those who had lost more. In particular, I want to take a minute and thank Santiam Hospital and the Santiam Canyon Wildfire Relief Effort, the United Way, Community Action, the Gates Community Church, and the State and Sublimity Knights of Columbus, in addition to the countless nonprofits, churches, and small businesses that supported their efforts. And I want to thank them for their combined effort on behalf of all of the evacuees and victims of our wildfires. It's been truly heroic. And I also want to thank Mayor Carmichael of Gates, Mayor Trett of Detroit, and Mayor Kirsch of Mill City for being leaders during this time for their communities. And we've continued to fight for the people of the Canyon. In the legislature, we fought for property tax relief for everyone in the Canyon who lost their homes. We've begged and pleaded and argued with the FEMA and the state to get the resources the Canyon needs to rebuild. We've waived septic and building fees for people who are rebuilding their homes lost by the fires. And we've dedicated $500,000 for the cities of Gates and Detroit to make sure that they don't go bankrupt and that they're able to rise from the ashes. We will do whatever it takes to fight for the people of the Canyon and all the people of Marion County. And we will continue to hold the U.S. Forest Service accountable to make sure that this never happens again. In January, an ice storm caused destruction and a power outage on a scale that we've never seen before. Once again, we stood up our emergency operations center to respond to this crisis. When gasoline and diesel ran out, we rushed fuel to our cities to ensure that their water and sewer systems wouldn't fail. Our Health and Human Services Department reopened the hotel to make sure that people who hadn't been warm for weeks were able to have a warm room to stay in. Our juvenile department delivered wood to people with wood-burning stoves so that they could stay warm. Our public works department opened up Browns Island and our regional transfer facilities so people could deposit woody debris there for free from all the trees that had fallen. Neighbors helped neighbors. Friends helped friends. And we kept each other warm and alive. We are entering 2021 through all of this adversity in an incredible position. If you had told me that all these things would happen this last year, I would have told you that our county would be in shambles. But it's not. We're stronger and braver and more prepared than we've ever been. Over the last year, our community was challenged again and again and again. And every time we rose to meet that challenge. More people today are moving to Marion County than ever before. Our economy is recovering and is poised for incredible growth in 2021. It seems like new businesses are opening just about every day. This is a great time to live in Marion County. And one of the things that I get to do as a commissioner is travel around the county and meet with people from all different walks of life. And one of the best things by far this year was to hear over and over again from people, from members of our community, to tell me how proud they were of the work they were doing to support other folks in our community who'd been hurt, especially those who lost their homes in the fires. At the East Salem Rotary, they told me how they had purchased tools for a family whose husband and father had lost his tools in the fire, and he relied on those tools to support his family. In the Woodburn, at the chamber meeting, a young man told me how he was building a shed for a family who was living in an RV on their land where their home had burned down in the canyon, so they could store all of their things as they prepared to rebuild. In Kaiser, South Salem, St. Paul, Mount Angel, Jervis, Jefferson, the people I met with didn't tell me about their wants or needs or desires. Although in a year of COVID, all of our communities have been hurt. No, instead, they told me what they had done to help their neighbors and friends in the canyon get back on their feet. That's what makes this community so incredible. As I look back on this past year, I realized I didn't know how good we had it. I didn't know how brave our sheriff's deputies were. I didn't know how selfless our county employees and volunteers were. I didn't know how generous our churches and hospitals and small businesses and civic clubs were. It took the hell that we went through to show me just how truly good the people of Marion County are. And it's helped me to recommit myself to the work of protecting and preserving this wonderful community as we grow into the future. One of the things that I've learned this past year is I don't know what the future has in store. And although we're going to plan and prepare every day, the challenges that we face in the future will be different than what we expect. And they may be scary. But I know now that I can depend on the people of Marion County to see us through. You can depend on the people of Marion County to see us through. You can depend on our sheriff's deputies and our police officers. You can depend on our road engineers. You can depend on our permanent staff and our planners. You can depend on our public health workers, our division directors. And you can depend on the churches, the nonprofits, small businesses in our community. Because when it got real, they showed up. They showed up for you. They showed up for me. And they showed up for our community. So I don't know what's around the corner, but I know that we can face it, united and unafraid. And now it's my honor to introduce to you our newest commissioner, Commissioner Danielle Bethel. And before she was a commissioner, she was one of those people who dropped everything to help us that week after the fire at our fairground shelter. And I'll always be grateful to her for that. Commissioner Bethel.
I almost forgot to take this mask off. It feels like it's a part of my makeup. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Commissioner Willis, for everything that you just said. There's a lot to be said. I think a lot more than what you're going to hear from us today. This last year has been really incredible. And for a really long time, I sat on that side of this podium. And I always looked up to commissioners with such awe. Who knows what they really do? Certainly not me. I'm still figuring it out. And certainly not me last year when I was campaigning to be a commissioner. I got to watch Commissioner Brentano and all of his grace make some of the most profound decisions that impacted the lives of every single person in Marion County, including me. So now that I'm not in the audience and the audience is watching me, I want you to know how grateful I am to be here. And again, I'm very excited. When I think of 2020, I think of one word, pivot. You probably heard it a lot last year from me. I've never been much of a basketball fan, but I did give it a shot when I was a freshman in high school. And I recall very specifically that pivoting was 1 foot planted on the ground while the other rotated around me while I had to bounce a ball and have another human waving in my face the entire time. I can tell you that I did not continue on with basketball because I didn't like people in my way. And I think that's what 2020 was for a lot of us. It was pivoting with somebody or something in the way. COVID-19 started with the statement, we just need 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And here we are, 377 days later, and we're still pivoting from that exact 14 days. I may have some disdain for 14 days. Throughout 2020, I had the privilege, like I said, to straddle a really unique fence as candidate for county commissioner and Chamber of Commerce CEO. I was able to see on one side exactly what our commissioners were doing, what Jan, Fritz, and her staff were doing, while being a fly on the wall, if you will, to see that constant change, the day-to-day decisions that were being made in 2020 to support Marion County citizens. Whether it was dealing with small businesses who were literally going bankrupt in days, whether it was dealing with people who were really ill and terrified, or healthcare partners that were trying to figure out how to serve the needs that they didn't know were going to come or not. The impact on businesses in Marion County was horrid. I saw it firsthand. I specifically talked to 9 business owners that were suicidal in 2020. I worked with law enforcement in the city of Kaiser to make sure one particular business owner did not commit suicide in his restaurant. Horrid may not be the right word for what we've experienced. We never have been prepared for what we've dealt with in the last year. Restaurants, bars, hair salons, barbershops, massage therapists, gyms, boutiques, small retail shops, bowling alleys, movie theaters. If you can think of it, it's been impacted. Not one single area of small business in Marion County has escaped the wrath of government mandates in COVID-19. No one saw this train coming, and nobody knew how long it was going to last, and we're still unsure. So what do? We show up, we be creative, and we pivot. Commissioners took action. Marion County was one of the very first counties to apply for the Get Open concept through the Oregon Health Authority and the governor's office, so early that they were sent back their application and said, hey, you have to wait, we're not ready for you. I can't tell you how proud I am of that, because poor Barb, I was banging on her door from my position as a chamber president or chamber director saying, when are we going to get open? She was like, I don't know, I have to wait to apply. This is persistence, this is Marion County, and it's never going to stop. I said earlier, 377 days into the pandemic, a far cry from 2 weeks, and commissioners are still meeting weekly with the director of the health department and the director of our public health department. On some weeks, we meet them in person twice. Decisions are being made rapidly, daily, to make sure that we're serving our public. Relationships and decisions are critical. I've had county commissioners from across Oregon reach out to me and say, how do you move so fast? How do we replicate what Marion County is doing? I'm proud to say that one of those calls came from somebody north of us. Teamwork is the answer. We show up as a team. Every department head in Marion County has showed up to every meeting they've been requested to attend, and they're prepared. They know what answers need to be answered. They know what questions to ask, and they know when they need to push. Marion County stood up the fastest and most efficient vaccine clinic in the state, thanks to our amazing partners at Salem Health. Maybe we overdid it because we had people from all over the state of Oregon coming to Marion County. I think the last count I saw was around 9 other counties that we were serving at the Salem Fairgrounds Clinic. Marion County really believes in collaboration. It's not a new concept because of COVID-19, and I'm really grateful for that. Because we have real active relationships weaved into every single part of our county. I've only been here less than 3 months. I've met every department head. I know exactly who they staff, and I know exactly what they're doing because they want to work with me, because I'm working with you. It's important. Relationships are important. In over just 2 months, Marion County and our health partners have vaccinated more than 58% of the 65+ population. That's more than 32,000 people in that category. That's phenomenal. There's no way that we could do this alone. The success speaks to the relationships and community engagement that we have all around us, partnerships. Commissioners are provided these weekly test updates from Katrina Rothenberger and Ryan Matthews in our health programs, and they are broken down by zip code and ethnicity. And that information is provided daily on a dashboard through our health department for the community to see. To be informed means you can make healthy decisions for yourself, and we believe in empowering you to do what's best for you. Creativity, trust, partnership, and efficiency is what makes Marion County thrive. I was able to witness this firsthand through the very first Woodburn drive-through clinic for vaccines. Commissioner Cameron and I went up there one day and it was freezing cold and there was cars lined up for a very long ways. It was the most efficient thing I've seen. And who knew I'd be so excited about seeing cars lined up for people to get shots right in their passenger seat. But I was very excited. And I'm very excited that continues to grow. Woodburn Ambulance, Falk Ambulance, Salem Health now has a mobile team that they're trying out. Santiam Hospital is going to do the same thing. And one day in that Woodburn drive-through clinic, 500 individuals that would have had no other opportunity to go get a vaccine because of ambulatory issues or transportation challenges were able to show up in a matter of 15 minutes, get a vaccine, and go about their life. That's pretty profound. It speaks to Marion County and what we do here. Commissioner Willis painted a great image of the crisis, or the crises Marion County has navigated this last year. First, instill COVID, wildfires, and then who knew, an ice storm. He mentioned the amazing crew, Marion County leadership, who still showed up then until all the tasks were completed. Showing up is what we do, and it's not just we, it's all of us. Tuesday morning, September 8th, many of us woke up to a smoke-filled sky. While others were fleeing for their animals' lives, covered in soot, not knowing if their home would be standing when they returned, whenever that was, I had the honor of responding to a text message from Tamara Getch. She's our community services director, and I kid you not, probably a jack of all trades. She said, "Hey, I need water. There's people down here and some animals." Well, I did what I do, and I sent out another text. Myself and Matt Lawyer, and Alex Clark, and 4 or 5 other business owners rallied, and we went and emptied the shelves of the local grocery store and another market and took down some bottles of water. More than 1,400 animals, from a single desert tortoise to a pair of beautiful draft horses, were cared for. Dozens and dozens of community members fled in. Every day we were fed by our community. They checked on us hourly, I feel like, and people just kept coming. It was a revolving door. Again, Marion County neighbors showed up. We served people and animals from Lincoln County, Lynn County, Clackamas County, Yamhill County, and of course, Marion County. There was literally no playbook. There was not a place to turn. There was no emergency manual on how to respond to animals. And by the way, I knew nothing about animals. I do now. While I was preparing for this yesterday, I was jogging my memory of who I could bring up that really stood out to me the whole week that I was there. 6 total days, sometimes 24 hours straight, sleeping in a lawn chair outside the horse barn with Tamara. It was like Campfire Girls, except for we couldn't have a fire. And I was trying to figure out, how do I call all of these volunteers out? Because there was hundreds. They all should be recognized in some way. But then I remembered, I don't know any of their last names. So how do I figure out one of their names? And there was a couple of people that stood out to me. And then I remembered, for the first 3 days, we had no radio communication. I don't know if you've been to the state fairgrounds, but it's pretty big. So I can't stand over on Silverton and talk to somebody on 17th Street because my voice may be loud, but it doesn't carry that far. So I created a system in my phone. There's an asterisk, and next to it, it says Caleb or Jonathan, livestock barn, or Mike, the hay guy. We did exactly what we needed to do. We showed up for our neighbors, and we stayed until they didn't need us anymore. I'm so proud of every person that I can now call a friend. It was remarkable. Rotarians, chamber members, church groups, city councilors, mayors, business owners, 4-H members, FFA, Timber Unity, a variety of cowgirl groups that I don't remember what they're called, but they're on the internet, and dozens more showed up for total strangers. I really believe that Marion County is unique. I think we're the most unique county in Oregon. I've lived here more than half my life, and every time I visit a city or a town, I find something new to fall in love with. And now we look to the future. What will Marion County look like in 6 months, a year, or 6 years from now? Our county is growing and it is recovering. On Monday, a brand new wildfire recovery coordinator begins in our office. I'm super excited. He's going to be tasked with working with local cities who were completely wiped out from the wildfires. It's not just homes and businesses that need to be rebuilt. It's entire communities. It's small governments. Without the ability to plan and be led, people aren't going to be able to return home. We need to get them home. Healing is in process, but it's our job as a county. It's our job to step up, to guide, and to support our communities to recovery. We're going to do that. We've already seen remarkable work underway through the Santiam Canyon Wildfire Relief Fund and the Santiam Coalition. Recovery is underway in a variety of different concepts. What does that mean for this particular homeowner doesn't mean the same thing for this homeowner. We have to meet them where they are. We have to move forward. It's going to be really hard work, and there are many people who are experiencing significant kinds of trauma. Government's really slow. There's not a single person in this audience, online or in person, that doesn't know that. And frankly, it's just the burden of what it is. But we as commissioners hear from citizens daily. We show up when we're asked to show up. This weekend, I'm going to be moving some gravel if you're bored. We show up for you. Every week, I said, we meet with health departments, but we also meet with local leaders in our communities. We listen, learn, and share. And every week, I'm continued to be inspired by the work that we do together. Our future in Marion County is bright. There's a lot of work ahead, but so far, I've only seen that we are all up for this task. We have some exciting infrastructure changes ahead, maybe less emotional than things I just talked about, but I'm going to tell you about those things because they're new and bright to me. And maybe Commissioner Brentano will get a kick out of it because he loves transportation so much. Commissioner Cameron's going to talk a little bit about all the great things that the county has really focused on in the last year, all while dealing with all of the crises that we've faced. But recently, you may have seen some exciting news from State Representative Bill Post. He was pretty much waving a flag in his little Facebook window when he heard that Marion County is the first county in Oregon history, thanks to a piece of legislation that he introduced, to implement a safety corridor at the county level. It's up in the North County. It's called the McKay-Yergan-Elin Road Interchange, and it's a very dangerous stretch of road. It's important for people to be safe, and sometimes it's our job to remind them how to do that. You're going to see increased sheriff patrols. You're going to see increased signage, some flashing lights, some rumble strips, and a variety of other things to get your attention, probably to save your life or the life of somebody else. I'm grateful to Representative Bill Post for coming up with this concept and fighting so hard in the legislature and then pursuing ODOT with county staff to get this done. It was just implemented about, 2 weeks ago. Road improvements are a significant portion of what we do in the county. Who knew? I'm going to learn a lot about roadways, but that we're growing in Marion County. People are coming here in droves, and we need to give them access and safety. My last and final share may seem a little less flashy. I'm not going to talk about any lights yet, but the Donald Aurora interchange is making progress. The exact same intersection that we just put a safety corridor on, we're working to try to improve. There's frequent traffic, lots of truck stops, lots and lots of farm traffic, and the interchange itself sees about 32,000 vehicles a day. If you travel through this area, you know it needs updating. It's quite tight, it lacks visual awareness, and in fact, it's really busy. The total overall cost for this interchange improvement is going to be about $72 million. And obviously, we can't just write a check for that, so we have to rely on our partners. Marion County, through partnerships with ODOT, has already received the funds for the first phase of the project. To be efficient like Marion County is, and impatient as I am, we want all the money at once. So we're working with federal delegates to figure that out so we can move that project forward in one fell swoop. Of course, it's not going to take a month, it's going to take some time, but we're working on that, and we're working on that for all of you. As I said, Marion County keeps moving ahead, regardless of what enters our path, a pandemic, a wildfire, an ice storm. We've had our share of challenges in just a handful of months, but we're making progress on the things that make Marion County a wonderful place to work and live. There are a lot of obstacles to overcome, but if 2020 taught us nothing else, I learned that we can be present, but separate and still make a real difference. I'm looking forward to digging into the years ahead. For those who already know me, you'll recognize my desire to serve. I'm grateful I have such amazing colleagues who are very funny. Watch a board session once in a while because I feel like we're a trio to see. We've set a solid foundation thanks to Commissioner Brentano's presence over the last 17 years and his steadfast commitment to real frugal service. We're able to go forward. I'm honored to move ahead in the footsteps that he's left for me and to work with Commissioner Cameron and Commissioner Willis and all of the staff in Marion County to serve all of our citizens. If I can do anything for you, I hope you'll reach out. Now I'm excited to introduce my friend and my colleague, Commissioner Cameron, who's going to talk to all of you about all the great things that we've done.
Jewelry, huh? Okay, take off my jewelry. I just want to say, Danielle, thank you. You bring in the energy and leadership to this leadership team that will guide this county for many years to come, and I'm blessed to serve with you. And Commissioner Willis, my brother, you have shown stable leadership during this last year, and I've lost my cool a couple of times, and you're just so calm, cool, and collected through all that. This county is blessed to have both Calm and Danielle, and the youth that they bring and the focus on young families Marion County will be in good hands for many years to come, and I'm really blessed to serve with you. But you know what? I would probably get this slightly tilted grin sitting in the back there from my good friend, Commissioner Sam Brentano, if I didn't mention him today. Because every time I go on Brent DeHart's show, before I leave, Sam would always say, hey, would you say something good about me? And he'd always listen. In fact, you got called out a couple of times, Commissioner Willis, for not saying the right thing, I think. You know, I don't remember what that was, but Sam, we are so grateful for your years of service. And as you know, this last year has been one for the record books, and you were there every moment, showed up to every meeting, and put it all in until your last day that you were here. And the people of Marion County need to know that over all those years, your last year was one of the toughest, and we are so thankful for that. And we're going to miss you in your retirement, although I've been on your boat a few times, and I see how hard you work on your boat. You know, I almost want to say you work your fingers to the bone, but actually you may work your fingers to a hook once in a while. I want to thank OSU Credit Union. Obviously, you saw a slide up there with all of us with our Beaver stuff, and I can't help but say congratulations to the Oregon State Beavers for their Pac-12 championship. Yeah. And I think that has something to do with motivation, as they wore 12 on the inside of their jerseys because they were picked to finish last this year. And we don't want to ever sell ourselves short, no matter what somebody tells us where we are, what we can do, and take that as an example. So I've coined this year's address as fire, ice, and isolation. Think about it. Fire, ice, and isolation. And as one who was evacuated at midnight, I get the fire. As one who has businesses that are closed due to COVID, I get COVID. And as ice, well, Detroit got snow, and my apartment never lost electricity. But as I toured our county shortly after that with one of our sheriff's deputies, I saw the destruction and the people that were scrambling to try to get their power turned on. And I want to thank our sheriff's department and all our public safety individuals, the National Guard, the governor, who helped get the resources out there. But I think Danielle referred to this last fall when we did our retreat at Sam's house. And by the way, Sam, great pizza, great donuts as always. We reviewed last year's goals and objectives. And what I thought was amazing as we did that was the things that got accomplished in the middle of this pandemic and in the middle of the fire, and all the resources that went towards handling those two emergencies at that time. This was before that fire and ice. People in Marion County, the employees in Marion County, got their real jobs accomplished. And I see Tamara here today, like the dog services, where we implemented new software that today, I can get to go pick up my dog Cooper. I can register Cooper online. I don't have to go in, and I can use a credit card. So if you're watching today and your dog's not registered, go get it registered. You can do it online. Public Works, We have over 140 bridges, 1,120 miles of road. And Brian, Nicholas, and all your staff, they chip sealed over 58 miles of road this year, overlaid 25.25 miles of road, and some for state and for gates with the new contract and the creativity that our Public Works Department reached out to the cities to help them save money and get some work done. And Brandon, your department, 8,023 building permits. We ferried 13,963 pedestrians, 284,820 vehicles, bicycles, over our 2 ferries last year. That's a lot of people that we took care of. The clerk's office recorded over 73,000 deeds, mortgages, liens, a 13% increase over the 2019 year. All this during the things that we talked about today. So the state of the county is very different depending on where you live, work, or play physically. I'm usually known as one who sees the glass half full, but this year I've had to really struggle. It's been a heck of a year, and as I listened to Commissioner Willis especially, I got tears in my eyes. I watched that video, I got tears in my eyes. It's been a challenge to keep a good attitude. But as you see the people of Marion County step forward, you see the employees around you step forward, the leadership in this county, it really brings you up. Sometimes we all need our cup filled instead of giving out. Public safety, we have our challenges ahead of us, and I want to go through some of these. Public safety, it's our #1 responsibility as your elected officials in Marion County. We spend 77% of our general fund dollars between our DA, juvenile, sheriff's office, and the jail. We found the East Salem Public Safety Service District and added 10 deputies. However, it takes 5 deputies to have one person 24 hours, 7 days a week. Yeah, we've added out of our general fund a deputy in the canyon and a deputy to the north. But as I said, it takes 5 to do that 24/7. So our deputies are stretched still very thin. And we have a challenge ahead of us as we continue to grow. State policies, as we're sitting here meeting today, there are so many bills potentially that could erode further the good work that we've done here in Marion County in the public safety area. As chair of the Public Safety Coordinating Council and our leadership from our district attorney, our sheriff who is here with us today, and our community social and service partners, we've been a leader in this state in helping to turn people's lives around in the public safety system and reunite them with their families and their children. However, a lot of the bills that are over there, if they pass, we will have to go back to the way it may have been or the way that people really don't want it to be. And that's, we won't have the ability to serve those individuals. So just look for it. Justice reinvestment, I voted for that in 2013 when I was in the legislature. It was a $50 million deal. And on top of that, they have eroded our basic funding service for parole and probation. And the legislature just continues to say, hey, we're just going to let all this go. And that work may erode. So I think that's a challenge that we really have to continue to work. And I want to thank Barb Young, who is our government affairs person that really helps that. Jail capacity, we've talked about that. If we added 100 more beds, it would be full in 2 to 3 days. And do we need more? Well, if you're the person that your house was just burglarized the day before and you see that individual back in your neighborhood, you'd say yes. So I think that we have to really remember that that is our basic core of what we have to do. And we have our challenges in front of us that we will meet, all 3 of us, along with our staff and our other leaders. So we don't know where we're going to be with those challenges in public safety until the legislature adjourns. 4,000 bills, we can't even get into the building to testify. So we're doing the best we can to give our input through letters and Zoom testimony. Another challenge that we have is the public works area. The restoration of the canyon. We closed all our parks. We're hopefully going to get Pack Saddle Park open by June. But it's about a $7.2 million total damage that we figure that happened to our parks. But this is going to give us an opportunity. In all tough situations, you always have an opportunity to come back better and stronger and do it in a more sustainable, and efficient manner. Danielle mentioned the transportation and infrastructure areas that have to do with our economic development and our safety. The I-5 interchange at Aurora, she talked about that. Long terms of Brooks interchange and the industrial agricultural development that needs to happen there. And I see Mayor Clark here today. Thank you, Mayor Clark, for being here. And how that impacts our communities, including Kaiser. Cordon Road bypass, to make sure that we have that bypass clear and able to move traffic around if something happens on I-5. The Aurora Airport runway extension. Well, I can't say too much about that, other than the fact, you're gonna laugh, because I didn't get the wall built yet, Commissioner. We've had people from the north attacking that extension. It's for safety and for efficiency and for economic development. And this year, I'm pleased to say that all their attacks have showed up to be losses, and they're spending taxpayer dollars to continue to do that. So the other area that I think we need for future development is the East Salem, as we call it, the new Marion, East Salem that is outside the city limits, making sure that we continue to develop that with the roads and sidewalks and the light system and things that those people need to have a quality of life in East Salem. And then environmental services, this year we'll sign a new contract with Covanta that'll help us for long term. The brand new MRF, which is a material recycling facility that has been put in by the haulers, is going to really help us to get more things out of the waste stream, be better at recycling and putting less into our burner and landfills. In the health department, one of the things that we've really worked on this year and will continue to do, we have a struggle there, is to get to our underserved communities. And I hope Ryan and Katrina are watching right now, as I want to compliment them and Michael in the health department and Jody Christensen from Regional Solutions for setting up the BIPOP meetings that we've had almost weekly and now every other week to help us listen, help them listen, and to build trust. And last is the canyon. Wow, how many punches does a region or an area or a community take before it goes down for the count? No matter where you live, this is your place, Santiam Canyon. I happen to live in Detroit, and we all love that place, the canyon, for many different reasons. Well, I think Commissioner Willis hit it out of the park when he said, well, we're all in this together. And you've heard examples after examples of how people have come together from all over the place to help those people. Marion County took a check to Gates to help them meet their payroll a month ago. Rep. Clem's committee in the Capitol is working hard to bring other resources from the state to the canyon. Our federal delegation has toured and is supporting the recovery efforts. And just last week, I toured with Treasurer Reed and Commissioner Hoyle as they saw the devastation and the need for our recovery. But that is the government. And you on this Zoom meeting are the real energy behind what the future looks like for those people. This weekend, there's a groundbreaking ceremony at the old Detroit High School at 9:45 for building of the new Detroit Lake Community Center. Rich Duncan, Nick Harville, the Construction Alliance, thank you. United Way just donated $250,000 towards that project. Thank you. All of the members of SEDCOR, thank you. Remember, fire and ice and isolation are in the rearview mirror. The windshield is bigger for a reason. I would just ask that you remember those who have lost everything. Some life, we lost 5 lives. They've lost their belongings. Others lost everything. I just ask that you would remember them in your prayers. At this time, as we end, I'd just like to take a moment of silence, and you can just focus on those people and the things that we've shared here today and what you may be able to do in the future. I think now we're going to take questions and answers.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron. I think I'll start off with the first question. That's a personal question for me. Today, my high school age son is working with some of his classmates in the canyon building sheds for people in that community. And I just wondered, what other opportunities, in keeping with your theme, what other opportunities are there for people on this call to help the people in the canyon?
Okay, I think we heard your question, Daryl. What opportunities is there for people to serve in the canyon?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
You're on mute as we readjusted. We were just sitting here a little bit spaced out earlier today and just having a lot of fun
I
as
have
we
an
did work.
opportunity.
Go ahead.
So this Saturday and Sunday, actually, Canes Marina, I'm working with them to facilitate a work group. So if you're around, come up with a chainsaw, shovels, rakes for gravel, and wheelbarrows and trailers if you have them. And we're going to be helping them clear their property. They have not received any support from FEMA, the feds, or insurance. And they'd like to get open for recreation and they need some help. So 9 a.m. on Saturday, we're going to be up there. We need all hands on deck. So that's the most recent activity. There's others.
Donating some of your allowance to the Wildfire Recovery Fund, or United Way has a fund. They've used that to help individuals. And I'm sure that there's SEDCOR. How old's your son, Daryl?
He's 17.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ask Rich Duncan if he can hire, not hire, but have a volunteer, a 17-year-old. I'm sure there's some waiver or something that a parent would sign to help with the construction alliance and, push a wheelbarrow and do those kinds of things.
There's also, you can go to the Santiam Canyon Wildfire Relief Fund website, and there's like a sign up genius, I think is what it is. I'm looking at Tamara who's shaking her head. Yes, I got that right. And you can put your information, contact information in that sign up genius. Just yesterday, I received a call for help for a family that's in Gates who needs help clearing their property. And so for those that are in need, they can go sign up to receive help, and then they send it out to the community through this sign up genius, and you get a text message and you can go help.
Great, thank you. Another question came in, and that was, who will be paying for the costs of running the new community center in Detroit? There's a lot of private money that has come into helping funding that, but will it be public money that pulls away from resources of the rest of the community at this point?
Well, the way I understand that that's happening is that the Detroit Lake Community Foundation, which is run by the Detroit Lake Recreational Business Association, is collecting the funds for the building. Once it's built, it will be given back to, I believe, to the city. The plans are, I think, and again, I don't know all the details, and I'm not on the city council, but the plans in this community centers, there's going to be places that would be able to generate revenue. There'll be a community center that people could rent out. So there's obviously revenue generation opportunities for the city. It will be their office as well. It'll move off of Main Street to there. So whatever they had before for operational expenses, they can contribute to that.
Yep, that's right.
My understanding.
Yeah, and we're gonna hope, I think the fire department try to get a fire engine in there. So there's many community resources that could go towards the contribution of operations.
Okay, another question. And I will add that in the chat feature, some of the opportunities for volunteers have been added to the chat function. Another question, now that you've managed through these disasters the past year, how has that impacted preparedness plans for the future?
I'll take this one. I think it's really helped our preparedness. So anybody who serves in local government knows that there are these tabletop exercises that you do where you go through scenarios of there's a disaster and who will do what, when, and how we coordinate resources and that sort of thing. But there's just no substitute for actually going through it. Every plan dissolves once it hits reality, right? So I think what I've seen is our staff have now had multiple opportunities to actually address crises, and we're all humans, so we don't always get it right, and we're able to identify those gaps where maybe we didn't communicate as well as we should, or the plan wasn't as good as it ought to have been, or the resources weren't there when we needed them, and we had to kind of turn ourselves into pretzels to deliver for the community. And so I think it's really helped us to build necessary experience, especially in our emergency operations center, because now we have people that are very seasoned in running those operations and in responding to crises. And so I think it's shown us where we can improve, and it's also given our key staff some real important experience. And I feel much more confident in our ability to respond to whatever the next crisis is.
Say anything?
No, I mean, I think I echo everything that Commissioner Willis said. And then also from an outsider's perspective, coming on the inside, lots of questions have been asked of me as to what it looked like to be a resource provider just as a citizen coming in now in a leadership role. I'm able to make just kind of recommendations of how we did things and how it's difficult sometimes for government to do the same thing private citizens can do or private organizations. And how do we, because we're very resourceful and creative in Marion County, kind of grow on those opportunities to be more resourceful right away and move that red tape out of the way. And our emergency command center is very open to that. We haven't had kind of a full download yet, but that's because, holy cow, we just had another crisis. So maybe we'll have like 3 months of nothing and we can have a meeting about it. But there's lots of opportunity and openness and lots of learned things that we'll be able to put on paper and keep that paper so it doesn't get lost and be reutilized in the future.
And lastly, what I would say, and I don't know how we get this message out, but going back to the water crisis situation we had here in Salem, COVID, the run on stores, you've got the fire. If you don't have a go bag in your car right now, you got to go home and get one. If you don't have water in your home for whatever the Red Cross says, I think it's a gallon per day per person. So if you've got 6 people in your house, you got to have, probably 10 5-gallon jugs sitting around because I've always said this, if I don't take care of myself, health-wise, food-wise, mentally-wise, I can't help somebody else. So each individual that's on this call, if you're just sitting there going, I live in the city and I'll be okay, it's not right. You've got to be prepared for that earthquake, for that fire, for whatever it is. And I know that I've got water in my truck, I've got water in my car, a gallon jug, and I've got my winter clothes and all that stuff. But please prepare for yourself, because as we know, government's not going to always be there to help you. We're going to do the best we can, but when you can help yourself and then help your neighbor, that is the best way to help each other. Sheriff's over there nodding his head.
Okay, I've got another question. You spoke about the communication tower being down, and there's been some, over the couple of these crises, there have been some issues with communications. Is there a local ham radio group or some other mechanism that the community can utilize to make sure that communications stay up during a disaster?
I have experienced that out at the Public Works Department. We have volunteers. I don't know, Sheriff, and I don't, Brian's not here, but if they're still operating, but what I got to experience is they actually have towers. They can do portable type things. And this was for the earthquake is what we were looking at. And they can send text messages via ham radios, et cetera. But it's not going to help the individual unless you have, like I said, a radio that's battery operated that you can get a signal on, because that signal may be, those towers that the radio station may be transponding on, if they're not prepared, they can't even transpond. So do we still have that going, Sheriff? Is the,
It's available in small doses, yes.
yeah, it's not really a thing that would help us long-term.
Yeah, I think so. We are looking at replacing our radio system in the canyon because it's at the end of its life and it's important for the safety of our first responders. But what we saw in the fires is, radios burned, cell phones didn't work. You had communication infrastructure fail. And I think it goes back to Commissioner Cameron's point. One of the things that we benefited from was that our sheriff's department had anticipated that a fire could come down the Little North Fork.
Yeah.
And they actually did a huge exercise about 3 months before the fire. It was 6 months. And I got to go participate in that. And it was sort of surreal because, nobody was talking about, oh, this could happen this summer. It was just, this could happen sometime in the future. We need to be prepared. And because they did that exercise, even though the U.S. Forest Service and some of the national and state folks were downplaying the danger, our sheriff's department actually evacuated the upper part of the Little North Fork early. And a lot of people were able to get out even before the night of the fires because they had done that exercise. And so I think it just reminds me that, a lot of the stories that I've heard, a lot of people who got out was because a sheriff's deputy knocked on the door or a neighbor or a friend knocked on the door. And we really do have to look out for each other. We are looking at better communications, especially better emergency communications. That's something that's really important. But if a fire or an earthquake knocks out all your infrastructure, you really have to just look out for each other.
Okay, another question. We're facing a time of high lumber prices in the market. And we've got a lot of timber resources up there that may be damaged, but is there something being done to utilize the local timber in that area to help the rebuilding efforts and to keep the market prices down?
Go ahead.
You're the timber guy.
I feel like where's Nick Harville to answer this question? Because he's the guy.
Well, we just had a meeting this morning about a project we're going to construct here, and our business services people said that they talked about metal construction, that price of wood is almost comparable to metal construction now. It's getting close, and you have less problems with it. So I do know this, that talking with the business owners in the canyon that own those mills, that they can't get the help they need. And if they could get, we don't want to get started on, people getting extra money on unemployment and all that other stuff. But if they could get 50 more, 75 more people, I know at Ferris Lumber, they could produce more plywood. Well, if you produce more, guess what happens? The price starts to come down. So I know that I've heard that Rich and others are trying to work on staging areas in the canyon where you could buy wholesale and try to move it there. And then, people don't have to drive up and down the canyon. So I don't know where the SEDCOR Construction Alliance is on all that, but we certainly would help in any way we can to make that. There's a lot of people rebuilding right now. We've had a lot of permits come in, and there's people that are getting started. So it's unfortunate that this has happened at a time when prices have gone through the roof. So there'll probably be some people that'll wait as a result of that too.
I think I'll do one more question here. And that is, one participant says that they understand that the Detroit Idana Fire Department budget has really been depleted. And what are the plans or what can be done to help them to keep our rural fire departments healthy?
Well, there's a bill in the, go ahead.
Yeah, Yeah, so the Oregon legislature has a repackaging bill that we just read about. Well, we read about it yesterday, I feel like, and we talked about it this morning in a meeting. And so there's money coming for that specific topic, but also we brainstorm as commissioners with a variety of people in the public service industry to determine what really needs to be done. And just yesterday, we had a conversation about what can we do to start that conversation and then grow it and hand it over to the locals. It really is a local based initiative. It needs to be run at the local level. And there's a lot of hurdles for the fire districts to overcome. Cost is significant. I know that the Idana Fire District is fundraising right now. They have a GoFundMe link on their Facebook page and you can donate to them. Of course, they don't have a station and their fire truck burned down, but there's funds coming. Hopefully, cross your fingers, the bill passes in the legislature to support that. But if you don't have people, you can't run an engine.
Right.
And most of the people that lived up the canyon that were volunteer firefighters were renters in the Gates area. And frankly, they have no place to live, so they're not up there. And so if you live up there, you should volunteer. And there's ways to go about that. You can call me and I'll tell you all about it. So it's a big question. Overall, there's resources coming. But it doesn't matter if you have the money, because if you don't have the people, you can't operate the engines.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
we can
that's
get them,
it.
we're going to get them some one-time money, but unless you have the ability to move forward and it becomes a local political issue as to how are they going to pay for it long-term.
And the success really is the success of those communities. You know, if those communities are
right.
able to build back stronger, then that fire department will be able to be stronger as well. So it's a whole community effort.
My brain is full of ideas. They'll get out there. We are working on it. It's something that's really important to all of us.
Great. Well, thank you, commissioners. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your service, everything that you're doing, your commitment to our community. I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Oregon State Credit Union for their partnership in this event and their sponsorship. I also want to let you know that our next forum event will be on April 14th. The topic will be employee compensation. It matters to your employees, the state of Oregon, and it must matter to you. That's the title. We'll have 3 speakers from BBSI. And in closing, today, I would just like to encourage all of you. It's really encouraging to hear all the positive things that are happening. And I just encourage you to be a light to those around you in challenging times. Be thankful for all the positives that we have, and there are many things that we have to be thankful for. Be courageous, be compassionate, be optimistic, encourage one another, appreciate your friendships and your colleagues. Even though we've been in isolation, just appreciate that. Seek for ways to come alongside someone who may be hurting. And above all else, love your neighbor as yourself. So thank you again for participating. And that concludes our meeting today.